Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour. I'm joined by my co-host Ryan Stick. Ryan, we are here today to talk about the brand new movie It Feeds. And I'm excited about this one because it's a horror movie that is making a lot of waves. A lot of people have been seeing it in theaters. When we did this interview, it was right before their limited theatrical release. So I want to encourage people, if you have not seen It Feeds yet, it is still playing in various screenings in various theaters around Canada. And if not, it will be on a streaming service soon. So you want to check it out. The brand new horror movie from Chad Archibald from Black Fawn Films. And it is called It Feeds. Let's go into these interviews right now, Ryan. We have got none other than Shawn Ashmore. And we're also joined by Juno Rinaldi from the film and the director and writer, Chad Archibald, right here, the cast and director of It Feeds. So I've been friends with Chad for a long, long time. Chad, we've been friends for 15 years.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe
more.
Wow,
cool.
Wow. When you put a number on it, it hurts.
Yeah, I know. It really hurts. So I was at Fan Expo, I think 2 years ago. And because of the ridiculous, hotel prices in Toronto, you were nice enough to say, hey, why don't you take the train back to my place? So I took the train back to your place and you're like, do you want to see a really early cut of my movie? So I saw this with placeholder music with all pretty much the same punches. Like the movie was finished, but it was very, very rough. And I'm really glad that I got to see it rough and then I got to see it finished, because just as it was rough, I was like, I remember looking at you when it was done and I was like, and it was late because by the time we got back, I think we finished this at 1 a.m. I know. And I looked at you and I was like, I think you got something really special here, man. So I'm really happy that we're finally here to talk about It Feeds officially, because I feel like I've been sitting on this little secret for 2 years plus.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there was a lot of people that not a lot. There was a handful of people that we actually showed the film to. Once we had kind of got close enough to picture lock that we were like, man, if new fresh eyes watch this and they're like, well, what about this? Because that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Those moments when you're like, oh my God, it's been a year of working on this and no one's realized that this and this doesn't make sense. But, yeah, no, appreciate it though.
What does it feel like for all of you to obviously when I saw it, it's been a couple of years and there's more work that went into it, but did you wrap filming on it? How much time before I saw it? 6 months, 4 months?
It was probably 4 or 5 months.
So it's that's the thing when you guys do these things, a lot of people don't realize, someone sees it for the first time, oh, this is great. I'm sure part of you as actors and as creators, you're you've moved on already. I mean, this thing's you can't wait to see it when it comes up, but it's almost like you do it, you move past it, you're probably onto something else. You could have different facial hair. You could have different, you could look completely different. You could just be in a completely different headspace. And then it's almost like this happy surprise where you're like, oh yeah, I did that. And it came out great.
I find that the farther away from shooting a project that I watch it, the better experience I have.
Right.
Because I have distanced myself, because I'm not so focused on, I always feel like the last thing that I finish, there's this weight to it. I want it to be great. And, because it's the thing you've worked on immediately. And then after, I've been begging Chad for I don't know how long to see this. And he's like, soon. But I was also saying before we started recording, for me, sometimes I'm tempted to see something because I just want to get a taste of it. What's it like? What does it feel like? What's the vibe? But I'm always, whenever I watch it too early, I remind myself, I want to see it when it's done. Yeah. I want to see it with the titles. We were all talking about the end credits and there's this kind of cool artwork and stuff. And it makes the whole experience better for me.
Oh, hands down. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to see it finished. And also whenever I watch a movie or a TV show that I'm in, it feels like I'm looking at a yearbook, because as opposed to enjoying the story or the performance or the journey, I'm like, oh, that was my first day. I remember that. Oh, that's when I came in and I didn't know anybody. Or, oh God, that scene, I had no idea what I wanted to do and I couldn't find it. And so you're sort of picking apart the experience of making it. And I find the more time that goes past, the less immediate and visceral those memories are, and I can just kind of sit back and enjoy it. And that's how I felt when I watched It Feeds. I still remember all this stuff, but I didn't feel as connected to the experience of making it as I would have if I had watched it much closer to having made it.
Right.
Amazing. Juno,
And
I had
Chad
some
can't
that-
escape it. Chad can't escape it. He's been watching it and editing it, and
I didn't want anyone to watch it till there was a theater. I actually really tried to get a theater in LA, just to like book out a whole thing and like at least you two and Ashley could go see it. And that's actually why it took so long before. Like Juno watched it like last night, I think, right?
I watched it last night.
What was your
There you go.
what was your viewing experience like? How did you watch it? Were you able
Well,
to watch it?
I really like what Shawn said because, I tried to get people in this house to watch it with me. I have 2 teenage sons. Nobody wanted to.
Oh, they don't care about anything that we do. Nothing. They could care less. We're the worst. I know.
So I was like, I guess I'm watching it by myself, guys. I don't like scary movies. Okay. But it was really, I liked what Shawn said about like having distance from it because I'm able to see it as a piece, right? And follow the story and enjoy it as a movie, and then get drawn in a little bit with like, our egos go, okay, yeah, that worked, that thing, or that or whatever it is. But when you have distance from it, it's way more easy to appreciate it as a whole, as a piece. So I loved it. I was just blown away by it. I thought I've never done anything like this before. This is my first sort of genre film, I suppose.
Wow. Okay.
So this has been a very new world to be in. And even when we were shooting, it was like, oh, this is a different kind of, this is just a different kind of tone and way of sort of approaching the work. So it was just so exciting for me to be a part of. Yeah.
I love how both of your characters were living in the same world, but are on completely different wavelengths of intensity.
Yeah.
Basically, Shawn's character is this do or die, I'll do anything for my daughter, regardless what it is. Yeah. And you're kind of like, hey, what's up?
Let's go on a road trip. Let's go on a road trip. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Juno, I think I've been you in many situations in my own life where everybody else is dialed at 11. I just show up. I'm just like, hey,
what's up?
Yeah. So, working on this film, it was very just seeing the work that went into it and the intensity to act that intense at all times. What I can only assume is about 3:30 in the morning and cold. Can you tell me a little bit of stories about the various night shoots? I'm sure that you all did, especially in the woods.
Juno, do you want to? I feel like you must have had more because I had maybe one night shoot, like the grave scene, without giving too much away, was like a night shoot, but I don't feel like I had too many late nights.
I think I had like 3, maybe. Yeah. Good. It's a weird space to get into because you're going to be up all night. So there's the prep that you do beforehand and then you kind of cross over, you get really tired. Then you cross over into like, well, here I am just doing it. And then the birds come up and you kind of tank. Anyway, it's a whole thing. But what I really liked about it was there's bugs and it's cold and all of those things. But what I loved watching it is how it all fits together. Like, the grave scene that we shot, Ashley and I were looking for Jordan, then gets cut into something we did like a week later in a studio. And I was saying this earlier. I was like, I don't think this is going to work, guys, but okay, let's try it. And then it looks amazing. And
there you go. I was under the assumption that you guys were just working for like a month straight from midnight till dawn. But if you're saying you creatively broke it up like that and it was seamless, that's amazing.
Yes. And I really struggle with night shoots anyway. When they come up, I'm like, oh God, this is so hard because I just struggle with sleep. So it takes me a long time to recover. But I remember it just being really fun. Was also in a very like different kind of headspace, I suppose, you know? Yeah.
So my only tip for night shoots this is for me personally, this is something I've learned over the years, is I just can't eat. Because like having lunch at 1 a.m. always makes me feel horrible. You know what I mean? It's like when you should be like fast asleep, you're like, I'm gonna have a burger and fries.
Yeah.
And then I completely crash. My body doesn't know what to do. So that's my thing. It's like I stay on a normal schedule. I like eat dinner before I come into work or whatever, and then I just shoot the night. But yeah, I think I only had like maybe one night shoot. This also goes back to kind of the experience of watching the film. It's like Randall's sort of in the film, but very selectively, which is why
Right.
like I only had one night shoot. So it also is fun for me when, you know, the character is prevalent and sort of there throughout because he's this presence, but he's not on screen all that much. And so I didn't get to see a lot of the sets. I think that's one of the first things I said to Chad afterwards. I was like, oh my God, like that eerie, like street, that town that, you know, and the house, like, where was that? Where, like, cause I just wasn't there. I didn't see that. I was like, oh my God, that was amazing. It was like the production value was so great. And so it also made it easy for me because I knew Ashley was like shooting nights and it looked fantastic on film, but I didn't have to do it. And I also didn't recognize it in the set. So I was like, oh, I read that. I didn't picture it looking like that. It was incredible.
Right.
So that was kind of cool too. The mysteries of not being around and just experiencing it for the first time on screen is pretty fun.
For you, Chad, you know, when you're so involved with this, I mean, you can't just like, you know, dip in, play and leave. You're here like for the whole thing from the beginning to the end. For you, it's just probably like one big long night shoot, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was it was a lot. We actually shot it. We went into production very quick after we got greenlit because there was the impending actor strike coming up.
Right.
So
yes,
we usually would prep more than we would, and we would usually cast a lot, you know, a long time before and, you know, have rehearsals and all that stuff. But we were at the point where we had just enough time. I think we wrapped less than a week before the actor strike happened or the SAG strike happened. So, I mean, for me, it was just like, you know, every day of prep was just like, I don't know, 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. phone calls with different production members and, you know, going through, you know, just organizing everything. And also because it's like, you know, we didn't have a huge budget and we were trying to create something like, you know, these like going into people's minds and creating like a world that like feels fantastic.
Yeah.
So doing things like finding, you know, that town with no cars in it, you know, is like, you know, finding that stuff and somehow getting it with no money, you know, that's actually the hard part. So
sure.
That's movie magic.
Yeah, there was a we actually shot that on a backlot that they built for Reacher, the TV show.
Yeah.
So we went and we saw it and we were like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And they were like, nah, no chance. Like it was just like the budget was like half of our location budget for the entire film. And then we went everywhere else trying to figure out how we could kind of create this town on a normal street in like Hamilton. And it's like the concept, like when you really start working through it, the idea of getting every car off every street to get like a nice wide and get every window to turn off its lights of every apartment, you know, it's just, or do VFX, which we also don't have money for. So, I mean, and not only that, that backlot also had that amazing house that was just sitting, you know, we put the pickup fence up, but like it was just sitting in a field and there was nothing inside it. It was just like a facade. So it's like you go up to the door and there wasn't even a door handle. Like we had to put a hinge on it to open it up. And it's just like 2x4 structures inside. So it was tricky, but I mean, you know, it takes time to beg and plead and, you know, just show people that you're passionate and you really want to make something amazing. And eventually it's surprising how many people will bend and say, all right, you know what, you guys take it for very little. And luckily we've got some good friends at Sunbelt and they've supported us for a long time. So things like that happen. But yeah, no, I mean, I think also going through the entire movie, there was a point where we fell behind and it turned into like, man, we're shooting like so many locations, so many different sets. Like I think we had like 14 sets built and we've now are like down a day or something like that. So we're, you know, there's points where we're shooting Juno in the kitchen, talking to Jordan, and we're shooting Cynthia walking through the house at the same time. And it definitely gets to a point as a director, especially writer director, where I was like looking around and I'm like, I'm not sure anyone on this set knows exactly what we're doing right now. And I'm communicating it the best way I can. And the ADs are great. And they're really trying.
Yeah.
But even talking to the cast, it's like you're moving so fast that it's sometimes like, you know, it would be great to sit down and really be like, all right, in the script, here's the highlighted areas of what, you know, and like go through it. But there was times where it's like people would come on set. It's like, okay, We got 8 minutes before lunch. We got to get this scene done, you know?
It's I don't know many people like you Chad, you're probably one of the most passionate people I know when it comes to like what you do, because I know how much you put into it. But what's amazed me with watching your journey as a filmmaker is that you've really every time you're leveling up, and this one was like to me, it's like, this is like, wow, it's yeah, no, and it's true. I mean, you know, when you have friends that are filmmakers, especially indie filmmakers, it's just fucking, there's so much. And I come from the music background, you know, like I was in a band. Like I know what it's like to get in a van and to move somewhere and like put all my eggs in a basket and then have something happen. But there's so much work that goes into it. So when I saw this finished, I was so proud, because I'm like, man, like this guy doesn't give up. And not to blow more smoke, but he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Chad pissed off. I don't think I've ever seen him not smiling, or, you know, just in the small dealings I've had with him. So I can imagine when you're on set with a guy like that, there's always a solution, because he seems to be the guy who always has the coolest head that prevails.
Yeah. I always felt like, I think what's important as an actor coming in too is like, you just need, I think, a level head, and you just want to know that somebody has the answer. I don't even need to, I mean, ideally I want to feel it and understand it, but sometimes again, when you're in a smaller film and things are moving quickly, as long as I know the director knows what they're wanting, then I can go. And with Chad, especially because he was the writer and producer, you know what I mean? Like you said, he it was sort of this auteur kind of moment. It's like, he knows what he wants. So if he says, hey, you know, or I'm like, nah, I don't know if I feel that, but he's like, no, this is how we want to do it. I'm like, great. As long as you know, because you sort of jump on board as an actor, and you want to be as creative as possible. And I like to be involved. I know some actors are like, I don't care, I just want to show up. But I like to participate and feel like I'm in the know. But sometimes you don't get that. But all that I really need is like a leader. You really just want a leader. Yeah. And when someone is calm, cool, collected, understanding, and then, like you said, has a solution. Because we all know when things are going a little awry. Like Chad was saying, when you're shooting two things at once, you know, it's like, okay, obviously we're behind today. We got to catch up.
On set knows that this isn't the way you do it.
Yeah, I mean, but also it's how you handle that, right? It's like, oh yeah, we can be in deep shit if we lose a day, but if we just have to scramble for a bit and then make up that half day and then we start fresh tomorrow. I think there's also that idea of like, get through the day, make your day, and then it's always a fresh start the next day. And I think Chad, obviously, it was a tough shoot in that sense that everything was going quickly, but I never felt like, oh, this is a disaster. Like, we don't know what's going on. And I've been in those movies. Yeah, I've been in those movies where I'm like, this is a mess. Like, this is it's, like everybody's melting down. Like things are falling apart. It's stressful. I didn't feel, for us anyways, I didn't feel stressed. I was like, I could tell that they're stressed and scrambling, but that's understandable. That doesn't have to permeate to the whole crew. And that's when things start to fall apart. People get shitty and upset. And so, yeah, for me, that was a great experience. So way to go, Chad.
Way to go, Chad. And I was in that crazy scene. It was my kitchen, and it was me talking in that one scene. And then Chad be like, BRB, and he'd go and do the other scene. But I never felt, I was like, that's cool. Right on. We'll just wait. Like, it was like you were saying, Shawn, it just wasn't a big deal, because Chad was steering the ship and holding this container for us to be able to do the work. And that's the gift.
For sure.
Man, I'm not great at taking compliments. I get all awkward and red.
Don't.
But I don't, like, I think as well, you know, I'm so lucky that everyone we worked with, the entire cast, was so on board and just gave it everything. Because honestly, it's like, there were times where it's like, okay, damn, we're switching scenes. Like, we're going a different direction here. This stuff we're shooting 2 days from now, we got to shoot it now, and we got no time at all. And man, every time, everyone was so on board. You know, I don't think anyone really got upset on set. But it was, I mean, I'm just so lucky that these people are all pros. And I'm such a fan too. I actually forgot that I was even talking on this podcast. I was just watching them earlier, and I was like, man, it's like they're like celebrities in my life, because I've lived watching this movie for 3 years. So today's our first day of doing casts, you know, just doing interviews with cast, and I'm just so pumped to hear them tell stories and talk. So.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cool.
That's absolutely amazing. Something I really liked about this film too is just your use of Canadian actors. Growing up in Canada, especially watching YTV shows, Shawn Ashmore represent, loved it. But I also saw Dove from Squawk Box and Mark Taylor, who I've hosted live when he did a Student Bodies reunion panel at Fan Expo a few years back. It was great to see Mark on screen, and so much Mark.
He's great too. He's great in the movie.
He's great in this movie. I was also like, God, look at Mark doing an amazing job. Like, he's great. Nice guy. Really nice guy.
And Dove is fantastic. I actually I did a movie with Dove honestly 20 years ago. I don't know, in Romania. We did this movie in Romania, and Dove was the lead of it, and he is such an interesting actor. And again, I haven't seen him in ages, but I don't know. He has such like a vulnerability, and specifically in this role, and he's just so interesting and kind of delicate, and in this performance. And what a cool guy. And I didn't know that he was cast either. So my first day on set, I think it was the day before I worked. I think I came to sort of meet everybody, and then Dove was there, and I was like, then I looked at the call sheet. I was like, oh shoot, yeah. And so I hadn't seen him in like 20-something years, but what a sweet guy. And he's great. He's great.
Yeah. I actually saw him in a couple episodes of, I think it was Umbrella Academy, and he was like part of a cult. And I was like, and it was a smaller role, but I just remember being like, I love that dude. He's so
good.
So whenever we started doing casting or whatever, I saw his name come up, and I instantly recognized him.
I think one of the hard things about doing any kind of cast interviews or creator interviews with horror movies is you don't want to give anything away, because there's always punches, and there's one scene, Juno, where you're involved with a bit of a slap. And I want to know, how many times did it take to get that, or was it a one take kind of thing?
I think we did it maybe
6
times.
Okay.
Twice, maybe 3 times. I don't remember. Do you remember, Chad? I was very bad at it to start. I do remember that.
Were you hesitant? Because is it hard to slap somebody? I mean,
it's just like so awkward, and like,
because you really did it. You didn't fake it. I mean, it's quite evident that there's a slap there.
Yeah. So it was very, I don't slap people regularly. So it was kind of hard for me to figure that out. And then somebody told me sort of how to do it in the follow through, and then we got it. But I really whack her.
It was, it was right before lunch as well. So I remember going into that scene and being like, man, what you never want to do as a director is rush like a hit. Not that it was a stunt, but like you never want to rush something like, hey, we're slapping this person, and we don't got much time to rehearse here, so let's just go for it.
And then you got to sit across each other and catering.
But it really came down to like the edit. It's like we kind of did our moments, and just the shots that we had. I think at one point we were like, all right, Juno, hand up, and a little higher.
Yeah. He was very
there it is right there. Okay, and action, But it worked. Actually, at Panic Fest, that moment got so many laughs. Like everyone erupted. It was so much fun to watch.
It's a great scene, and I'm excited for people to see that. And
the scene totally slaps.
Yeah.
What do I say afterwards? I say something I lost control, or
said, I panicked.
Yeah.
I panicked.
Yeah, you do it very apologetically, but like when you're in the moment, man, like if you freeze on your face, like you're giving somebody a slap down.
I gotta ask everybody, just on this show, sometimes we talk about a little bit, we talk a lot about the movies, and we talk about things you're a fan of, but are you a fan of horror movies, everybody here? Like Chad, I know you are, but
can you imagine Chad's like, meh.
Yeah. Shawn, Juno, are you fans of horror movies as well?
I am, yeah. I can't believe Juno.
Which ones? Because this movie gave me Dream Warriors vibes. Also, The Gift. Also, even The Ring a little bit.
I
love
like
all those movies.
It's a new world for me. But we've been hearing like The Ring, and we heard the other one, not Dream Warriors, The Gift. We heard those two this morning. So
The Cell.
I love hearing that. The Cell, yeah.
Well, cerebral. It definitely has a cerebral feel to it. That's for sure. And there's like resolution. Well, there's just a lot of stuff that's dealt with in the movie. So it's I think that's when you dealt with those psychological thrillers, or psychological horror.
And you know what? I think in particular when I read this, what I liked about it was, first of all, it was familiar in a way. And I mean that in a good way. It's like, okay, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. I think like people want to come see something that they understand. But what I love, or the kinds of movies I love, are where the entity, the threat isn't fully explained. It's not like, you know, I just like the unknown. I think that's what's scary. It's not like, well, we have an expert that's going to come, like some priest or some, and again, I have nothing against The Exorcist or anything like that, where there's like, it's built into, you know, a religion or a lore or something like that. But it's kind of nice when you find an original threat.
Sure.
And that is why I sort of like, I go back to like, The Exorcist is one of my favorite scary movies. We understand the setup, and that's what I'm saying. It's familiar. It's like, hey, it's a possession, but you never know why Reagan is the choice,
right?
Or why somewhere in this house in modern times with a movie star's daughter, why is she chosen? Why is she taken? Like, that's scary to me. It's like the unknown, and that's kind of how I felt when I read this. It's like there's this thing that is feeding on people, and it's random, and there's no explanation. There's no escape, and it's up to our characters to kind of figure out how to solve this thing. There's not a book, there's not a spell, there's not a lore, there's not a silver bullet. It's like our characters have to figure out, with all the horrible consequences, how to deal with this thing. I like that. That's the kind of movie a genre stuff that I really like. And again, also, and we talked about this earlier today, like the movie feels so rooted in its characters and in their trauma and in the emotion, and sort of grounded in the reality. Again, it's this heightened world, but it's kind of like, if I feel like when I watched it, I'm never like, why would they make that decision? That's a dumb thing. You know, you kind of constantly find yourself in horror films being like, well, why did they go in there? Why did they do that?
Oh yeah. As an audience member, like, don't do that. What are you doing? Yeah,
but when you watch a horror film and it's like, again, it may not be the right choice, but when you understand the choices they're making, or you like, I can't blame them for doing that. I can't blame Randall for making this decision. I can't blame Cynthia for going to do this. That works for me. I feel like that's a smart genre film, a smart horror film. So those are all the things that I'm looking for when I watch one, and also when I'm reading something to be a part of. I'm like, if I can pick apart the characters' choices and the stories when I'm reading the script, so will the audience. And with It Feeds, I couldn't do that. I was like, okay, this works. There's no holes, there's no plot, you know, stuff that's missing. And I think a lot of it goes back to sometimes when you start to try to explain the unknown and the terror, that's when you start to pick holes. Sometimes it's a little like the thing that is unsaid is sort of scarier, and for some reason it works better.
Yeah. It was really, I feel very lucky to have made this script. And I say that in a weird way of like, you know, as a writer, you're always trying to write something good and exciting and that you connect with. And there are many, many times where you write something and it just, you know, you try to make something happen and the pieces aren't fitting well together. And I think part of the reason why I ended up writing the script so quickly is that, you know, it's strange because there are so many elements of things that I love put into this script that I've always wanted to do. But for whatever reason, the structure of how the story goes out, they all just fit in there so nicely. And being able, and I mean, I wrote the entire first draft of the script in like 7 days, which usually takes, I don't know, endless amounts of time to do. But it just came out because it really felt like, you know, honest in the way that, you know, what would these characters do? How would they react? And how are we going to move forward with that in a way that isn't forcing us to get to the things that I want to do? You know, like it just kind of, it fit together in a weird way. And I think that a big part of that is coming from, you know, looking at our main characters. Like Randall has chosen his path of how he wants to react with his daughter to protect his daughter. And Cynthia, she has to decide how she wants to react to protect her daughter, and just really understanding who they are and how they want to kind of move forward with the knowledge that they have. It really kind of wrote itself in a weird way for both of them. And then they just started intertwining, and, you know, it got really exciting, and I ended up, you know, getting out of bed. And I remember the moment, you know, near the end, Cynthia, you know, goes into another mind. And I remember the moment of thinking about that. It was like 3 a.m. in the morning, and I remember I was lying in bed, and everyone in the house was sleeping, and I just like thought of it and was like, oh my God. And I got up and I ran downstairs. I think I was in my underwear and I'm sitting there typing, and, you know, but yeah, no, it came together good. And I'm, you know, every day I feel very, very lucky that, you know, this whole movie came together, and the cast and everyone. And I'm just so pumped that people are watching it now, you know, it's finally getting out there.
For sure. I want to ask you, Chad, and maybe, you guys, the rest of you guys can chime in. Julian's just incredible. Everything he's in. I mean, he's just that guy who just like, you're like, oh, I've seen him in that. And in my, like, as a fan, like, you know how people want to fan cast movies all the time. I still want to see him play William S. Burroughs. I think he would be incredible. I know that, you know, Peter Weller was great in Naked Lunch, but I still think that Julian would be an incredible William Burroughs. And I think you should write that script, Chad.
Julian's amazing. He's
incredible. You know, and every time I see him in something, he's just like, man, the guy is just, he just has a way of just bringing something to a movie. And even if he's not in it that much, he just has a way of just bringing something. And every time I see him, I'm like, man, I'm glad that guy's in that movie.
Yeah. And he's really like, he's such a pro.
Yeah.
He came on the set. He only had one day on set, and, you know, like usual, everything was behind. We're going into a new location, big house. And, you know, he had like 8 pages of dialogue, and, you know, he sat there and he was kind of going through it, and he was just like reading it to himself as we kind of rehearsed a little bit.
Yeah.
Which again, I had very little time to rehearse with him, and he was kind of reading through it, and he was stumbling over some stuff and whatever. And we were like, oh man, all right, let's see how this goes. We'll just go as far as we can go until it falls apart. And it was like, first take, nailed it. Like,
really,
start to finish, nailed everything. And and the original scene is twice as long, for sure. There was a lot more in it as well. So, but yeah, no, such a pro, and I love when he does great things, because the guy just deserves so much. He's such a supporter of indie film.
Yeah,
and like, I know so many first-time filmmakers that like adore him and have called him, and he's just like, yeah, let's do it. You know, when it's something that he knows that, you know, someone's passionate about, and he can be passionate about it.
And I'm sure for both of you as actors, it must be nice when you're able to do that, when you're able to go, you know, you do stuff you do big budget stuff that, you know, that's obviously it's a no brainer. You know what it's going to bring you from a career point of view, but it must be nice when you can go, I want to do that. Mm-hmm. It's not that I have to do that. I want to do that. Mm-hmm. That's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. And it's true. Like, that doesn't happen with every gig. I mean, sometimes it's like, I just need to work. I need to make money. This is the profession I've chosen.
Sure.
Other times it's like, I can't believe I'm getting this opportunity. It's something huge. But again, the things that I get the most excited about are usually just smaller films that I read. I'm like, that's going to be cool. That's a character I haven't played, or that's a version of a character I haven't played, or I haven't done this kind of movie before. And again, the excitement is because you never know what's going to happen, right? Like, you show up, you hope all the pieces are there. Okay, do we have enough money to make the thing? Okay, the script is good. Okay, we got a director, we've got a cast. Okay, we're going to make this thing. And often some of the things that I've been the most excited about have fallen flat.
Yeah.
And it's like that. It's like alchemy. It's like you can't even really explain why it doesn't work. It's just sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It always obviously starts with a great script and a great story, but sometimes you have all the pieces and it just doesn't work. And then sometimes you're like, I'm not sure how this thing's going to work out. Mm-hmm. And then it takes off, it takes flight, mm-hmm. and you're always taking that risk. So I think you have to start from a place of like, I literally have a checklist. I'm like, I either love the character, mm-hmm. or I love the script, mm-hmm. or there's an actor or a creative person, a director, a writer that I want to work with. I just have to have one of those things. If you have more of those things, then it's better. But I just kind of like have to have. I have a short checklist basically, but those are it. Like, love the script, love the character, or love somebody that's involved. And I'm like, okay, let's just jump in, because you never know what's going to happen.
Wow. Something about you were mentioning just great acting, what it takes to put on a good movie, what it takes to make a great movie. I've seen people who brought a level of intensity and they thought they were in Jaws, but they turned into a performance that's more like a Sharknado.
Yeah.
Sometimes you never know what's going on behind the scenes, how they're shooting you, how in person it seems like it's not that big, and then you look on camera and you're like, oh my god, that's huge. But I've seen great child actors such as Mr. Shawn here, of course, knocking it out of the park. But I gotta say, something that completely blew me away last night was the actress who plays your daughter. I was stunned by how good she was. She just came on screen with all this intensity, but it was real. It was never over the top. It was never, oh God, shut up. I just was like, tell me more, you mysterious young girl.
Yeah. Yeah. She had a very, I agree, by the way. Like, even when I met her, she seems very like a raw, open, grounded person, and also mature for her age in a way. You know what I mean? But yeah, she's just very grounded, very in it, and it's also like a very challenging kind of emotional place to be in for most of the movie, right? She's scared, but it's not just like I'm scared of something, like terrified, and has gone through the trauma of losing her mom, and then has this secret that she's carrying. You know what I mean? And you could feel all that weight on the character from the second she shows up at the door, you know? Yeah, she was amazing. And
it was really nice to see her because she, I was telling these guys earlier, she played my niece in Working Moms.
Yeah,
like, season 2. And we had this scene where we were eating ice cream at the beaches, and she just was like going to town on the ice cream. And I was like, well, you might want to slow your roll here because we got to do this a few times, right? And she ended up kind of getting a little bit like, I don't want to eat any more ice cream, but it was so cool to see her grow into this, like you were saying, Shawn, this really deep, a major layered character. It was very cool.
And she was actually her audition was phenomenal. Like,
oh wow, really?
It was so strong that I actually think I freaked her out a little on the first day of shooting, because I said to her, I was like, honestly, like there was no one even close. It was so awesome. I don't even have any notes. Let's just do it again.
Wow.
And I think she was like, oh God, let's do it again. What did I do? You know? And she was a little nervous that she wouldn't be able to kind of live up to it, but she did even better. And such a little pro. Also, like, so fun. I mean, we're on set, and like we're about to do this terrifying scene where she's crying and she's seeing this demon, and it's just like really intense. And she's just like singing pop songs, like just like she's got half the crew, these big burly men singing Taylor Swift with her, and then be like, "Okay, let's roll," and she's like in it, you know.
Right. It's crazy when you see people that can turn it on and off. It's it really is a skill, but especially with younger people, I mean, it's just like, whoa, blows your mind. Working Moms too. I mean, you know, it's such a fucking phenomenally fucking great show.
Yes,
it's just really, really good. It's really, really good. And I'm glad to when I saw you in this, I was like, oh, this is cool, man. This is really cool.
Yeah, I connected to that material. I felt like I connected to the, like Shawn was saying, like what it, you know, draws you into a script. And I remember reading the scene and being like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like, this is definitely in my wheelhouse for sure. Right. This is something I would be cast as, but it's also a little bit, it's different. It's always different. So it was, and I was really interested in being in a genre film, a horror film where I was not struggling with the demon or the entity, or, you know, I was in a different kind of world. So how to bridge those two without it being yucca, you know, that was sort of my challenge, but I really loved it. Yeah.
I also think that your character in a way is kind of the audience, right? Because
exactly. You know, it's so true.
You're everybody else is kind of aware of it. Like,
yeah,
you know, Ashley and Ellie, like they're in this kind of psychic world, and Randall knows all about it. So it's like you're just kind of stepping in, like, hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah, true. Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
And again, I also think that's why the character lands so well, because yes, you're casual in circumstances where the rest of us aren't, because you're like, I don't know what's going on, and so you're discovering things sort of as the audience, you know, which is kind of cool. And I think that's always like a nice way in. To a character, and I love spending time with characters like that, because it's like, that's how I'm feeling as an audience member. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, get us up to speed here.
Yeah, it's
good.
so true.
It's really
And
good.
also, and Agatha is also just like, she's this character that is really based on like, she just wants a friend.
Yeah.
And she just kind of like wants to be part of something.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, she's obviously gone through her life and she's struggled through a lot of things. And, near the end, when Cynthia turns to her and says, Agatha, you're a good friend, there's like a moment there where she's just like looking, and it's so strong. And people have brought it up multiple times because they're just like, you can feel that she's just like, I'm in the right place right now. And there's a billion people on this planet that would not ever have followed this path and believed this woman. But you can tell at that moment that she's like, no, I'm here, and I'm happy that I'm here, and I'm happy that I'm supporting. And, we all need a friend like Agatha.
Yep.
I love that moment when she goes to the car to get the shovel, and then, we're on either side. I'm coming with you. And she's like, gets a second shovel. I love those. I love those moments.
Yeah, for sure. It brings like because everybody can relate to those things where like, you look over and you got your best friend there, or you got your buddy that's going to hang with you. Yeah. All right. So we're not going to keep it much longer, but I would be a horrible card carrying member of the Nerd Club if I didn't ask you, Shawn, because we do have you here, and you were a fucking X-Man. You gotta tell me, man. I know you've moved on from that. You do other stuff, but I mean, what was that part of your life like? Like, because you were at a very interesting point in that, because like the way we know Marvel movies now is not what it was. Like, I'll never forget seeing those movies when they first came out. And this is all like, like we look at like, before Christ and after Christ. It's like before Iron Man and after Iron Man. And you were very much before that. What is it like when you look on that with like, 20 plus year eyes?
It's sort of as unbelievable as it was at the time. I mean,
right.
I grew up reading X-Men comic books and watching a cartoon after school. I still have boxes of comic books. So I was very into that world.
Yeah.
I was also a huge fan of The Usual Suspects. So I was like, Bryan Singer is coming to Toronto and making an X-Men film.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And then I got an audition for a role. It wasn't even a character-specific role, Like, I went in, it was like, I don't even know if they call them this anymore, but like a cattle call. There was like 75 young
Bobby Drake
Toronto guys. Yeah, basically. Well, there's a story behind that too. It's like, I just did a Comic-Con in Florida with a guy named David Hayter, who wrote the first X-Men film.
Yeah, David Hayter. He's in Guyver too.
Yes.
Metal Gear Solid, yeah.
Yeah. So he wrote the first film. And Femke Janssen, who played Jean Grey, we did like a panel. And I said this to him because I can't remember, but basically we started shooting the first movie, and my character's name was John. And I shot a couple scenes, including the scene with Anna Paquin where, as Mystique, I tell Rogue to go. And if you watch that scene, she calls me John, not Bobby. Because I think I was initially cast as John Allardyce, who was Pyro. But I think as we started shooting, one day I got new sides and my character's name changed. And I was like, oh shit, did I do something wrong? Am I being written out? And one of the producers was like, no, we love what you're doing. We just had a better idea for where to take your character. Then we shot the scene in the classroom where I freeze Pyro's ice fire thing, and I make Rogue the Ice Rose, and I say, welcome to Mutant High. And I was like, that's when I became Iceman. So I think I basically had been cast as another character, and as things were flying, they're like, you know what, he'd be better as this. And that's how that happened.
That's
So but that whole experience changed my life. I mean,
sure.
4 movies, they were, number one at the box office for a month when they came out, each one of them, you know what I mean? So they were like the biggest movies in the world at the time. And I made a ton of amazing friends. I worked with some of the most accomplished and famous actors. I got to be on set and watch Sir Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen work, and I would just come and watch them work, and being on set with Halle Berry and with Hugh Jackman and with all these people, Alan Cumming and Anna. And so it was incredible. Like, it's hard to put into words what that experience was like. I felt like I didn't belong there at the beginning because I was just some kid from Brampton, Ontario, that got cast in a big movie, and I just worked for a couple days, and then it turned into, oh no, now you're kind of one of us. Like, we're gonna make you a big, So it was kind of like, I didn't feel like I fit in at the beginning. I didn't think I deserved to be there, but I was embraced. My confidence grew, and I got to sort of create my career path from these films. So it was amazing. Like, it's still kind of hard to believe that all that happened.
Yeah,
I have a Bobby Drake action figure, like an Iceman action figure, like sitting next to me. You know what I mean? Like, and I used to not collect that stuff because I was just like, it's cheesy. I don't. But
dude, that's so
means
cool.
It means so much now because it's like all these decades later, and I got to sort of inhabit this character and bring this character to the screen. It was a big deal.
And it's really cool. I don't know if any of you are watching Paradise, but it's a really, really good show. And to see James in that show, James Marsden, he's just killing it in his role.
I haven't seen it yet, but I know it's huge. I know how huge it is. I'm just so happy for him as an actor to see him doing that, because it's such a different role, and it's awesome. And when I see all of you guys from those movies going out and doing different things, I mean, you guys were really, really I love those movies. I think they're great. And whenever I see anybody going out and doing other stuff, I'm like, good for them. Cause they were like, besides like our Christopher Reeve Superman and our Spideys and all that, but like, you guys were part of a very special time when you were doing something that not a lot of people were doing. And now, everybody's doing it. So it's cool when you see that, when you see the OGs kind of going out there and still doing it. So cool. Thanks, man. Yeah, it was a blast. I mean, like I said, it changed my life and my career. So it was really, really cool.
Chad's laughing. He's like, there's no way you're going to have fucking Iceman here. I'm not going to ask him about that.
No, I love this because you're asking the questions that,
you want to know too.
I feel like I know Shawn now,
like,
and I'm like, well,
you're like, I kind of wanted to ask Shawn that too, but I didn't want him to say no to my next project.
I wrote that question. No. To Jason.
It was a bad submitted question from Chad.
Yeah. But I love talking about it. I mean, again,
I'm glad,
it was nothing but an amazing experience, like.
Yeah, for sure.
Incredible.
I mean, it's really nice when you see good people winning, and it seems like you guys are all good people. So I'm really glad. I'm excited for people to see it feeds. What is the plan with this? So can you give me a bit of the breakdown of what's going on with it feeds?
Yeah. We're doing festivals right now.
Yeah.
So we have Fantaspoa in Brazil. We're doing Brussels International Fantastic Film Festival and Hardline Film Festival in Germany. We're doing all that in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then coming back for the Canadian premiere at Scotiabank Theatre in Toronto on April 16th. Sold out in a couple days, which is great.
Nice.
Then we're going to the Hamilton premiere, which is kind of our hometown premiere because we filmed the movie there.
Yep.
Shawn and Ashley will be there at the Playhouse Cinema, which will be amazing.
Great theater. Love it there.
Great theater.
Yeah. And after that, we hit theaters. So April 16th, it hits theaters across Canada, probably 20, 30 theaters.
Cool.
And then in the US, a limited release on April 18th. And it's also going on VOD April 18th in the US. And UK and Ireland has a May 12th release.
Nice. Well, I encourage people to go check this out in theater. I think you need to be in a dark room with really big sound. And that's one thing I have to say, like the sound design of this movie is great. It's great to see it with all that completed. And I watched it with headphones on, really good Audio Technicas. And man, it was just like, it delivered. So kudos to all of you for making a great horror film that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy, and make sure you check it out. Support it. Don't not go to the theaters, because that's like buying your ticket is like voting, and you got to do that. Thanks, guys.
True. Thank you, guys.
You.
Well, that was a hell of an interview. Really cool, and I like how you you had the guts not only to stand up to Magneto, but to ask about the X-Men stuff.
Dude, come on.
I'm always wondering. I'm always wondering, shouldn't I?
I know we were here to talk about it, Feeds, and I had to let people know, like, the movie is really, really good. Like I mentioned when we were chatting, I saw a very early cut of this movie before, with just placeholder music, not finished VFX and VFX, I should say, and it was really, really good. So the finished version is phenomenal. Go check it out while you can in theaters, and definitely vote for this movie by streaming it when it comes available for streaming, and buy the physical media when you can, because it's a good movie. We have to protect horror, especially Canadian horror, but we also have to protect our geekdom. And the only way that I could have done that was by asking Shawn Ashmore some X-Men questions. And I had to, dude, come on. The guy was it.
I got to bring up Animorphs as as a host of You, Me, and YTV. I think I did my job.
Yes, we both did our jobs today. So I want to encourage people also to please like the podcast. If you are enjoying this, subscribe, and let your friends know about it. Share any episodes that you're enjoying. It really helps us more than you know. And we appreciate all of you. Next week on the show, we are joined by Dan Donegan from the band Disturbed. So we're looking forward to that, and a lot of big things coming in the next couple of months. So make sure you keep it locked on our socials. All of our episodes are available on Facebook now as well. So thank you for supporting. All those views and all those likes and all those comments really mean a lot to us. And until next time, we'll see you on the Rockman Power Hour. Hey, thanks so much for watching the podcast. We really appreciate your support. And if you're enjoying the podcast, click this link right over here to watch the next episode, and click right over here and subscribe. And that way you won't miss anything.